Tom Hanks' Lost Letter, a writer's story of hope. Tom Hanks is one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, not just because of his incredible talent, but also for his warmth and humility. While many stars get caught up in the glamour of fame, Tom has always been drawn to real human stories. He values sincerity over spectacle, depth over vanity. One crisp autumn morning, as he sat by his kitchen window with a steaming cup of coffee, he absent-mindedly sifted through his mail. There were the usual envelopes, bills, invitations, a few fan letters. But one stood out. It was different. The envelope was old, slightly crumpled, and carried no return address. The handwriting was neat but unsteady, as if the writer had taken their time, pouring their soul into every letter. Intrigued, Tom carefully tore it open and pulled out a single sheet of paper, yellowed with age. It read, "Dear Mr. Hanks, I live in a small town and have dedicated my life to writing. My books were never published, and no one has ever read my stories. But I kept writing, hoping that one day someone would hear my voice. If you're reading this, know that this is my last hope." Tom reread the letter, his fingers tightening around the edges. Something about it struck him deeply. The words carried weight, as if they had been pressed onto the paper with desperation and quiet longing. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the words. Who was this person? Where did they live? Were they still writing? Had they given up? As an actor and storyteller himself, Tom knew how it felt to be unheard. Before his fame, he had faced rejection after rejection, just like every artist. But he had been lucky. Someone had believed in him. And now, perhaps, it was his turn to do the same for someone else. Following the clues, the letter had only one clue: the postmark. It had been sent from Silverbrook, a tiny, nearly forgotten town in Montana. Tom had never heard of it before, but something inside him told him he needed to go. So, without hesitation, he cleared his schedule, packed a small bag, and booked a flight. He didn't tell anyone, not his agent, not his family. This wasn't about Hollywood or publicity. This was personal. When he arrived in Silverbrook, the town looked like something out of an old novel. It was quiet, almost frozen in time. The streets were lined with charming brick buildings, their faded signs whispering stories of better days. A few elderly folks sat on wooden benches outside a general store, watching the world go by with a kind of patient wisdom. He wandered through the town, soaking in its charm. At a small diner on the corner, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm apple pie drifted through the air. He stopped for a moment, watching the locals chat like old friends, their laughter filling the cozy space. Eventually, he came across a small bookstore tucked between two antique shops. Its sign, painted in peeling gold letters, read, "Silverbrook Books and Tales." The bell above the door jingled softly as he stepped inside. The air smelled of old paper and wood, a scent that always brought him comfort. Behind the counter stood an elderly man with wire-rimmed glasses, his eyes sharp despite his age. He looked at Tom with quiet recognition, but said nothing. "Well, this is unexpected," the man finally said, a slight smile playing on his lips. "What brings Tom Hanks to Silverbrook?" Tom pulled the letter from his pocket and slid it onto the counter. "I'm looking for the person who wrote this." The man adjusted his glasses and read the letter carefully. After a moment, he nodded. That would be Sophia. Sophia's story. Sophia had lived in Silverbrook her entire life. From a young age, she had dreamed of becoming a great writer. She filled notebook after notebook with stories, adventures, mysteries, tales of love and loss. But the world had not been kind to her dreams. She had sent her manuscripts to publishers, only to receive rejection after rejection. Not marketable, they said, not the right time. Eventually, the letters stopped coming altogether. Over time, Sophia withdrew from the world. She still wrote, but she no longer shared her work. Her house became a sanctuary of unfinished stories and forgotten dreams. Tom found her in a small cottage on the edge of town. It was a modest home, but it had character. The front porch was covered in ivy, and a wind chime made of seashells danced softly in the breeze. When Sophia opened the door, her eyes widened in disbelief. You! You're Tom Hanks? Tom smiled gently. Yes, and I think we need to talk. Inside, her home was a writer's paradise. Notebooks, typewriter pages, and handwritten notes were stacked in careful piles. On the wall, Tom noticed a quote written in elegant script. Stories are only as valuable as the people who tell them. Tom held up the letter. You wrote this, didn't you? Sophia hesitated before nodding. I did, but I never thought you'd actually read it. Tom picked up one of her notebooks and began flipping through the pages. After reading a few lines, he looked up, his eyes filled with admiration. Sophia, this is incredible. Your stories deserve to be read, and I want to help you. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes. I've been writing for so long, but no one ever cared. Tom's expression softened. Well, now someone does. A new beginning, Tom didn't just offer words of encouragement. He took action. When he returned to Hollywood, he reached out to publishers, producers, and literary agents. Within weeks, Sophia's stories were in the hands of people who truly appreciated them. Her first book was published, and to everyone's surprise, it became a bestseller. People connected with her raw, heartfelt storytelling. 1 year later, Tom and Sophia sat side by side at a major book award ceremony. As she held her award, she turned to him with shining eyes. This was my dream, she whispered. I never thought it would come true. Tom smiled. Sometimes dreams come true when the right people believe in them. The power of a letter, a single letter, had changed everything. Sophia's voice was finally heard, and Tom Hanks had once again reminded the world of the power of human connection. Somewhere, in a small town or a bustling city, there is another Sophia, another writer, artist, or dreamer, waiting for someone to believe in them. And maybe, just maybe, all they need is for someone to read their letter. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and share. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories. See you in the next one.